Hey everybody, welcome to the Travis Goodwin Show. I have a very special guest today. His name is Alex, and I'm gonna start off by letting him introduce himself and let everybody know what he does. So, Alex, go ahead.
Travis, yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Yeah, my name's Alex Pardo, born and raised in Miami. I have been a full-time real estate investor and entrepreneur since late 2005. Almost coming up on 20 years here. And the first, I'd say 14, almost 15 years of my career, Travis, I spent in the single-family wholesaling business. I've done a lot of transactions throughout the years, and it's interesting. I got into real estate because I wanted cash flow. I wanted all the benefits that real estate provides,
Yeah,
appreciation, depreciation, ultimately being able to just have time freedom. And I found that, at least for me, I felt like I was playing the wrong game. After 14 years of, I had built a team and wholesaling a lot of real estate throughout the years. I'm grateful because it provided for myself and my family, and we made a lot of money. But it started to feel like a grind.
yeah,
It started to feel like a high paying job, like I was on this hamster wheel. So, about 4.5 years ago, I ended up transitioning from wholesaling into self storage and managing, owning, and operating storage. And, now I coach people on how to buy their first facility. That is a very, very condensed version of a almost 20-year story, but I'll kind of kick it over for you so we can dive in wherever you might want to.
that's incredible, man. You got longevity in the game, that's for sure. Not
Yeah.
everybody's able to stay going. Do you feel like your longevity really is because you haven't stayed in one place? You have went on to do self-storage and you've grown.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I'd answer it by saying that I have a very clear vision for my life. And I think one of the mistakes that real estate investors and entrepreneurs make, Travis, is they're so focused on building a business and making money, and then they fit life into the empty white spaces on their calendar. And I think one of the things I learned from a coach well over a decade ago is to prioritize your life first, get clear on what you want your life to look like without regards to money and possessions and things of that nature. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Those are all tools and things that we were meant to enjoy. But I got a lot of clarity about what I wanted my life to look like. And then I went about building a business to enhance and support that vision for my life. And so I think to answer your question about longevity, it's I got really, really clear on my vision. I got clear on my God-given gifts and talents, right? And then our job, I think, is to maximize, duplicate, multiply those talents to benefit others. Yeah, man, I might surprise you in saying that I am not passionate about real estate. I like real estate. I feel like I'm good at it. I've been doing it a long time. Um, but I use real estate as a vehicle to
Yeah.
help others and to allow me to just provide money and give me time freedom. So yeah, man, I think it's just committing to it, committing to the process, and learning to just appreciate the journey, not just the destination. Because the destination we've all experienced, we accomplish something, and it's short-lived. You get there, it has that new car smell, you feel good, and then you're going out to and conquer the next mountain.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I think that's what's giving me that longevity.
That was a great answer to that question, and that was very deep. I found myself like, for the longest time, I thought that I was passionate about real estate. I convinced myself of that, right? But the more that I'm growing as a human being, and the more that I read, and the more that I fill my brain with positive things, I realize that that's not really my passion. My passion is helping people, and real estate just helps me help more people, right?
That's
Um,
it.
so, and I think I had a mentor tell me that once too. He told me that, we don't look in the mirror and say, like, this is who I want to be in the next year. We become that person today while we're looking in the mirror. And then in a year from now, we look back and say, look at what we've done, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. One of the things that I sometimes need to remind myself of is it's not so much the destination or the outcome or the result that we're after, but I think really the value and the juice in life is in who have to become in order to accomplish whatever it might be, starting a real estate business or buying your first deal or getting into self-storage. And this framework, this mindset, I think applies to really any aspect of our life, health and fitness, relationships, in our spiritual walk, right? So yeah, I think it's who you have to become and understanding that, man, we can hop on these podcasts and YouTube shows, and sometimes you watch people and you're like, oh, that person has it all figured out. Like they have it made. And then you don't realize you're just a person just like you. Like I have setbacks, I have challenges, I have things that happen. And I have to remind myself that, hey, I'm going through this experience or this challenge, whatever that may be, for a reason, and I'm meant to grow from this.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that no matter where you are in the journey, you keep that perspective about your life.
Love it, man. I love it. I'd like to go back in time with you a little bit. So,
Yeah.
let's imagine Alex. He's wholesaling. He's on the hamster wheel, right? He's trying
Hmm.
to figure out like how do I get off of this hamster wheel? So,
Yeah.
how did it happen? How did the self-storage come into play? Talk to me a little bit about that period.
Yeah, I think it was in 2016 I launched the podcast, the Flip Empire Show, which is actually in the process as we speak of getting rebranded to Storage Wins. But I did that because I was more in tune with the fact that I started to receive a lot of fulfillment from having conversations with people that would ask me questions about how I did this or how I got started in real estate and feeling like, man, I wish that was recorded because I believe it could benefit and help other people. And when I launched the podcast, it was 2017, 2018 that I would get more joy out of people reaching out saying, "Hey, that podcast episode really helped me or impacted me," than I did the next 20 or $30,000 wholesale deal we were about to close. And I remember being on a cruise with my wife, and I had built a team of, I think at that point we had 6 or 7 people on our team. I had an office and the systems and everything you can imagine. I remember at the time our overhead was around $40,000 a month. And I had to close 2 deals just to break even, just to
Yeah.
keep the lights on, make sure the team was taken care of. And I told my wife, I said, this business doesn't feel like it's aligned with my goals and that vision that I spoke about. Like, yes, it's providing us with all this money, but I'm starting the month from scratch and it just feels like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to start buying rentals. One of the mistakes I think I've made that I'm very transparent about is I got started in '05 and I've made all this money transactionally, but like I remember telling my wife, like, where's all the cash flow? Like, where are the assets? Like I wasn't wise enough to keep some of the quality property. So I started buying properties in Cleveland, Ohio. For perspective, I live in Miami.
Okay.
So Miami's not a great buy and hold area. Prices were really high, so I focused on the Midwest. And after about 4 or 5 properties, Travis, I realized like there's got to be a better way. Like there's nothing passive about being a landlord. And the couple $100 a month I might get on a rental, like it just wasn't cutting it. It felt like another job.
Yeah.
And so I happened to be co-leading a mastermind at the time, and I was coaching somebody who owned a storage facility. And I got an inside look into that asset class. And this gentleman had not just time freedom, but he wasn't dealing with tenants, he wasn't dealing with toilets, he wasn't dealing with trash, and he just had I don't know, he was just had a lot of time, right? So I really started to research the storage asset class. I always incorrectly assumed that I would transition from single family into multifamily, into
Yeah.
apartment buildings. Just seems like a natural progression. And when I really started to research self storage as an asset class, man, I was hooked. I'm like, this is the path I think I'm meant to go. So I had decided in 2019, hey, I'm gonna unwind my operation. When COVID came, it was just like a moth to a flame. It just accelerated the process. So by June, man, I had shut down a profitable wholesaling business, and December of 2020 is when I planted my flag on storage and committed to that. So I think a big part of my learning lesson and the journey was, I asked myself an important question. I said, hey, if I'm still running this business 12 months from now, how would I feel? And I remember I had that feeling in the pit of my stomach, almost equivalent to like I had a corporate job, on a Sunday evening and I had to wake up early to go to my corporate job on Monday morning. Except this was worse because this was my own business.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, no matter how much money this business is generating, even though this is my comfort zone, I know I need to make a move. So I just ripped that band-aid off, man. I just bet on myself again.
Man, that's so awesome. That's inspiring. So you literally, some people would, like most people, I believe, would say, okay, I'm going to continue my wholesaling operation while I jump into this, little by little, right? But you just went
Yeah.
ahead and said, you know what? I'm done with wholesaling. I'm going straight into this, right?
Yeah, and look, I think it's really important. There's some context that needs to be explained, right? Is fortunately I had some other income streams that I had built up into that point. So I had a softer landing, so to speak. I was able to take some time off and figure out that next step.
Yeah.
Um, People might be listening saying, "Hey, I want to get into real estate. I want to start wholesaling or I want to do fix and flip." But they have a job and people might be listening that have families and kids and responsibilities. I'm not the guy to tell you, "Hey, burn the ships and just dive into something without thinking it through
Yeah.
when you have responsibilities." But I would also tell that person, be ready, have the mindset that you're going to need to sacrifice likely some time, a lot of energy and effort in order to keep that job so that you can fulfill your responsibilities to your family or whatever responsibilities you have and start to gain ahead in whatever field or business you want to devote yourself to. That could be long nights, that could be weekends, that could be saying no to friends when they invite you out, or whatever the case might be. So, either way, whether you burn the ships or not, you have to first decide, then you have to commit. I think it's really important that you educate yourself and you surround yourself with the right people. But above all, Travis, I think people talk about taking action. I would like to add a word. You got to take massive imperfect action.
Love it.
Most people they wait for the stars to align, brother. Like they're waiting for the perfect opportunity to like make this decision or jump into real estate or do this. And I can tell you with certainty in my experience, that perfect timing just never comes,
Yeah.
right? It just I think you learn so much more by putting yourself out there and going through the process than you ever will by consuming all the podcasts and YouTube channels you could possibly consume.
Agree totally. And like you said, it does take a whole lot of your energy. So you are going to have to analyze your life and figure out, where am I putting my energy and where can I what can I stop today? Like you said, is it going to be going out with friends and having a drink? Is it going to be sitting on my couch eating ice cream and potato chips?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you got to find a way to renew that energy and because it's going to take a lot. Like it's not
Mhm.
easy. This is one of the hardest things you guys listening will ever have to do is start a business. So man, your story's so cool. I didn't know all of this about you. So okay, so now all right, you stopped your wholesale operation.
Mhm.
Okay, so what was the first steps into getting started in the storage?
Well, first off, I did what I preach is I hired a coach. I joined the community because I knew that I could figure out the business on my own, right? And I say that humbly, not because I'm super smart, but just because like, when you really want something, nothing is going to get in your way. And that was the mindset I had. But my life has been changed in so many ways going back to 2008, right? I'll give you the modified story, but I got into real estate end of '05. In 2008, I lost $51,000 of my own money on a fix and flip, like in the middle of the crash.
Yeah,
Between myself and a partner, we lost $102,000. And up until that point, Travis, I share that because I always viewed coaches and mentors as an expense. And that was the catalyst for having a mindset shift about viewing coaches not as an expense, but as an investment. And
yeah.
ever since that point, haven't gone a month without paying an actual coach to work with me.
Mm,
Right. And so I knew that I could figure out storage on my own. I also knew like, why would I? Like, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to make an expensive mistake. So first step was I found the right community, one that was aligned with my goals and my purpose. I joined. And then quite honestly, man, if I'm being just brutally honest, I almost came into the business. I'm not going to say cocky because that's not my attitude and disposition, but almost overly confident.
yeah.
I felt that the years and experience and success I've had in single family real estate, it was going to be a light switch. Hey, I commit to storage and all of a sudden I'm going to find my deal in the next 30 days and I'm going to, and then I remember I was at a mastermind and one of my students said, hey, how's it going? This was late February. He goes, hey, how's it going for you in storage? And I wasn't going to lie to him. I said, man, it's really not. And I realized I was in education consumption mode.
Mm,
Again, I felt like I needed all the answers. And then I coached myself through the process. I'm like, I don't need all the answers. I just need to take the first step. And I remember I started sending out direct mail letters to mom and pop storage operators. And by the end of April, I had identified my first opportunity. I think it was in June that I went under contract on my first facility. and closed on a 43,000 square foot storage facility in Mississippi, September of 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Wow.
So that
That's
was my first step, is just like not overthinking it and saying, hey, I've decided, I've committed. I'm not trying to figure out how to manage and operate a storage facility and how to like rate manage. What's the first step? Okay, well, I need leads. I need opportunities. I
yeah.
knew direct mail. Let me identify a list of mom and pop storage operators. Let me send out a direct mail campaign. Let me get on the phone with them. And then I just applied what I had learned in the single family space over to storage. And I just kind of kept going. And I think consistency is just a key ingredient to success no matter what you want to do. It's again deciding, committing, but then like you got to be consistent with the right types of actions.
Love it, man. So you mentioned something a second ago. You said you're not cocky, you were just overly confident, right? And a lot of these podcasts and things you listen to about business, it's all about marketing, sales, how to find and get leads, blah blah blah. But how important is that confidence from the beginning?
Ah,
To
It's
start
it's
off in a business and really have it.
Man, it's so important. It's crucial. In fact, I have a coach today that he says the number one job of every entrepreneur is to protect their confidence.
Mm,
Because think about trying to accomplish anything. It's very difficult to accomplish something without having a certain level of confidence.
yeah,
Right? I would challenge anyone listening and watching us to like stop and think whenever you've achieved something in your life, did you achieve it without confidence? Like there's got to be a certain level of confidence there. And so I think confidence comes by preparation and
yeah,
by doing the work,
yeah,
right? So one thing is to prepare, another thing is to just put yourself out there and give yourself permission to fail in some regards. Like you're gonna fumble your way through certain things, especially the first time you've done it.
yeah,
Be okay with that. Just trust and know that that is part of the process. Now, obviously, hopefully, you've aligned yourself with the right people. You're in the right communities. You have the right coach or mentor. The idea is to try to shorten the curve, right? The learning curve, and try to reduce the number of mistakes, but give yourself some freedom and grace that those mistakes are going to happen. And it's just part of that journey we talked about in becoming the person you need to become in order to learn something new, develop and acquire a new skill set, and ultimately accomplish whatever it is that you're after. Storage is no different.
man, that's so true. That's so true. And I like to, I know I don't mean to get all spiritual or anything, but failure, it reminds me of rain. Like if it rains, don't complain that it's raining. Just, either put up an umbrella or go outside and enjoy the rain, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, man, that's
No,
incredible.
that's it. Man, mine said, who was it? I'd love to quote whoever said it, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but something along the lines of like, first of all, life is not like what happens to you. It's about like how you respond.
Yes.
And I think so much of life, I mean, I'm 44 now. And so there's a lot still that I have to learn, right? And in fact, my mindset is I will never get to a point where like I know it all or I know most things. Like you got to be a student in life. That never stops. But where I was going with that is that I think you just have to be open to just understanding that you don't know what you don't know and being humble enough to like ask for help when you need it
Yeah.
and just put yourself out there and trust that the growth is in the action you take and what you do from there, right? It's not in just, it's very comfortable to sit back behind a computer or a phone and do some work and make yourself believe you're making progress. But if you don't see results after whatever you've committed yourself 90, 120 days later, then you really got to go back and ask yourself, like, hey, are you committed to the process? Are you doing the right types of actions?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just such a big fan of just coaches and masterminds because of the level of accountability that I think comes. And not from external accountability, I'm talking internal accountability. Like when you pay attention. And
Yeah.
when you put yourself out there, like you show up. At least that's been my experience.
I'm with you 100%. I tell people that all the time. If somebody contacts me, and I'm not a coach, I don't coach people, but if somebody contacts me asking about that kind of thing, and I'm asking them about their budget, and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't want to spend anything," I'm like, "Well, you probably aren't going to commit."
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so yeah, man, I could go into mindset all day long. That's my favorite conversation, but I don't know much about storage units. So while I have you on here, I want to learn as much as I can. So let's say I want to get started in storage units today.
Yeah.
So, but
Mhm.
besides getting a coach, what else could I do, and what's some of the most important aspects of it?
Yeah, look, I think big picture, first of all, the storage business is it's pretty simple, right? I think people tend to overcomplicate it. What we do is we rent space, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I love storage is because we get to do something called forced appreciation, meaning um, the value of a commercial property and storage is a commercial asset. The value is determined not based on comparable sales like it is in single family. It's based on the income that asset produces, right?
Yeah.
The net operating income. So we get to raise rents and implement all types of fee incomes. And when that increases the net operating income, it has a multiple and exponential effect on the value of the facility. But first thing you got to do is commit that, hey, I want to do storage. Second thing I would say is start to identify markets. So I like to target secondary and rural markets. So
Hmm.
think of markets that have population between 1,000 on the very low end, but let's just say 5,000 to 60,000 people. I
Okay.
like to be in markets where the medium household income is $50,000 a year or greater,
Okay.
right? The higher, the better. I certainly want to be in a market where there's the population is increasing, there's growth, right? There's jobs coming into that market. And you can jump on census.gov and there's a bunch of free tools online that can tell you these markets. And then I like to go after mom and pop operated storage facilities. So, what is a mom and pop operated storage facilities? Well, it's the opposite of like the public storages of the world, extra space. Those are owned by the REITs, the Real Estate Investment Trust.
Yeah.
I'm looking to connect with your classic 60, 70-year-old man or woman who has owned storage, but they don't really treat it like a business. They don't have any marketing, they don't have any automation, any systems. Many of these people, Travis, don't even have websites or
Yeah.
haven't raised the rates, right? So imagine if you and I owned a single family rental property that we bought in 2005 when I got started. And imagine we had never raised the rent
Yeah.
in these last 20 years. It's not uncommon for me to speak to storage owners that haven't raised the rates in years. And that presents an opportunity for us. So I initially start by looking for markets that have an undersupply of storage. I think that's a big mistake that people make is that they'll focus on big metropolitan cities where there's the REITs, or they'll focus on a market that has an oversupply of storage, right? So I think first is identifying kind of like what your buy box looks like, your storage avatar, identifying the right market. And then honestly, it's just one of the things I tell my Storage Wins coaching clients is you got to get on the phone and have conversations because conversations lead to conversions and conversions lead to cash and cash flow.
Yeah.
So I teach something called the LMAO method. And LMAO is not laughing my, off. It's not what most people think. It's the L is for list. So in any business, you have to have a list of prospects. So
Yeah.
I teach people how to go on Google Maps and identify mom and pop storage operators. And we have virtual assistants that build our list. The M is for meaningful conversations, which I just alluded to.
Yeah.
So we hold people accountable to have a certain number of storage facilities on their list every day, to have a certain amount of meaningful conversations every day. The A is for analyzing storage facilities. So there's a simple process to be able to look at a storage facility, get a few key points of data, and be able to analyze that facility to understand, hey, what is the value and what could the value be? And
Yeah.
then the O is for offers, right? Like you can't get on base or hit the home run if you don't step to the plate. And so I like to teach making at least one offer a week. And so that's the LMAO method, building your list, meaningful conversations, analyzing a deal a day, and making an offer a week. Man, if I had to simplify at least the acquisitions part of storage, that's really what it boils down to.
Awesome. So, if you're analyzing a property a day and you're giving one offer a week, so some of these people you're not giving offers to, am I right?
Look, I'm a fan of always making an offer,
Okay.
right? But I also understand that the reality of that can sometimes, and when I say offer, I'm not just talking about a written offer. Sometimes I'll make a verbal offer or I'll give a
Sure.
range on the phone just to see if I'm even in the ballpark of what the seller's expectations are, what they might consider. So, no, look, I would make an offer if it fits your buy box, certainly. And if it doesn't fit your buy box, here's one of the cool things about storage that people might not know is just like you can wholesale a house, a residential property, you can wholesale storage.
Yeah.
I'm under contract right now where we're wholesaling a storage facility, and this will be my third one. The only
Oh,
difference with these deals is that they tend to be much bigger in terms of the profit that you can make because obviously it's a commercial piece of real estate. So it's just, it provides more opportunity. And so the numbers tend to be a little bit bigger. But yeah, anything that falls outside of my buy box, Travis, is an opportunity. If it's a deal, to still put it under contract and find the right buyer to step in your place.
That's awesome, man. So you say that it's a little bit bigger. Like, what do you mean by that? Like the fees? Like, could you give an
Yeah, look,
example?
I've been involved in two wholesale deals, about to be three once we close this one. My first one, we made $99,000. And when I say we split that, it was myself and two other guys.
Yeah.
So my portion was a third, 33 grand. Here's the cool thing about that deal. We kept 15% equity in that deal, which we still own to this day. So
Awesome.
we were able to make a nice $99,000 wholesale fee, plus we retained 15% equity in that project. My second storage wholesale deal was kind of a cool story. I'll share it with you really quick. This was June of 23. I get a call from a lady, and she said, "Hey, Alex, you don't know me. We've never spoken before, but you sent me a letter almost 2 years ago, and I've been holding on to it because the timing wasn't right. And now I think I'm ready to sell my facility." And so we had a really nice conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I said, "Hey, out of curiosity, you mentioned that you kept my letter for almost 2 years. What made you do that?" And she said, "Well, I've gotten letters, throughout the years, but yours really jumped out at me. First of all, I felt like you were speaking to me. Second of all, you included a beautiful picture of your family. And I don't know, you just sounded like a down to earth guy." So I think the takeaway from that part of the story is that whenever you do any type of marketing, try to write or speak or write as if you're speaking to somebody that you know and trust, a family member, right? And so I've gotten that feedback a lot from sellers that my copy is very personal, very direct. And so, anyways, that facility got it under contract for 400,000, and I sold the interest in the LLC at closing for $150,000 profit.
Wow.
Uh, so now, look, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. This isn't legal advice. Take this for entertainment purposes, only. But like that was my experience. My experience with storage is that the wholesale fees tend to be bigger.
Makes total sense. It makes sense to me. Commercial, just storage in general. So without giving us your exact copy, could you give us an example of what you mean by, just speaking to that person? Do you have
Man,
any?
I'll do you one better. I'll provide the exact letter.
Okay.
So if you guys send a text message to 305 just put storage letter and then Travis in parentheses. That way I know that you came from this podcast. I'll have my assistant actually just send you the letter and like some training breaking down like why I think it's effective. But I'm sorry, back. So I'm offering the letter to anybody that wants it. But what was the specific question that you had, Travis?
No, I'm just curious, like an example of what the copy might be. Just
Oh man, let me. I wonder if like I can pull it up fast enough on the fly. But if actually here it is.
okay.
Let me bring it. Give me 1 second. I think I can. I think I can bring it up here. Anyways, here it is. Okay, so I'll read it to you while it's coming up here. So it says, in this particular case, "Dear Aaron" is the copy I have. So it'll say, "Dear," the person's name.
Okay.
"My name's Alex Pardo, and I'm writing to introduce myself. My wife and I purchased a self-storage facility last year, and we're actively looking to purchase another facility." So before I keep going, never lie,
Yeah.
right? Like that might seem obvious, but if you've never purchased a storage facility, then don't put that you've purchased one. Say, "Hey, my wife and I are looking to purchase our first facility." Like I don't subscribe to the mentality and the mindset of act as if,
Yeah.
right? Like I think people teach that a lot, and I understand the spirit in which they teach it. But I think it's really important to just be yourself, be authentic, be real. And so, anyways, the second part of the letter says, "That's why I'm writing. I wanted to touch base with you about your property," and then insert the name of the property. "I was wondering if you had considered selling that facility either now or in the future. If so, it would be an honor to talk with you about buying it whenever the time is right for you." So it doesn't come across pushy. I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm offering cash and I'm closing in 3 minutes and there's no realtors or commissions." Like that's the jargon that everybody uses. You want to
Yeah.
separate yourself from those people. So continuing on, I say, "I really like the idea of working directly with property owners whenever possible. rather than through agents. It's just nice to speak directly when possible. Would you be up for a brief phone call to explore that conversation at some point? If the timing is not right for you at the moment, please keep my letter and give me a buzz when you're ready to chat. That sentence right there
There you go.
is what that was the call to action that spoke to that lady and why she kept my letter for almost 24 months.
Yeah, that's
Because I
awesome.
specifically told her if the timing is not right, keep my letter.
Yep.
I have included my mobile number below, so feel free to call or text me if you'd like. And then it's my name, my mobile number. I use an at Gmail email. I'm not using an at storagebuyers.com or something. Like, I don't want to come across like a big company.
Sure.
And then I have a PS with a picture of my family at the bottom and my two little girls. It says, if I'm not able to pick up, please leave me a voicemail. I'm just a regular family guy raising two little princesses with my wife, and they keep us busy.
Oh, nice.
Dude, I'm just regular dude, family. I'm just looking to buy a storage facility. And so there's nothing super fancy about the copy. I'm not like some ninja copywriter. I just wrote it like as if I was gonna write to like my cousin, my mother. Like how would I communicate with somebody that I might not know, but that I wanted to be personable?
Love it, man. So yeah, if you guys want that, I'm gonna put the number in the description. You guys send a text, just put my name in there with it, and Alex will make sure you get all of that information that you need and resources. Looks like we're running out of time here, man. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Um, if somebody wants to, like, if they want your coaching, because I'm sure you got coaching, right, for storage. Want your
Yeah,
coaching, or
absolutely.
they have questions, do they just text that number too, or do you have another way to contact?
Yeah, so look, if anybody is interested in having a conversation and exploring, what the coaching side of it looks like, if you head over to www.storagewins.com, storagewins.com, and then, but I also share a lot of just storage information and content on my podcast. Again, it was called the Flip Empire Show. By the time that this gets released, it's probably already been rebranded to Storage Wins. So you can find that on Apple Podcast. And then on my YouTube channel, every single week I release a new video about storage.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you guys got to check Alex out. He's out here crushing it in the storage game. I appreciate you, man. So, if we could leave these people with one final gem, it could be business, life, however you feel. What would it be?
Read every single day, right? Tithe, right? You and I were talking before, so people might be watching this at some point on YouTube, and they're like, "Does this dude know that he's got like dirt on his forehead?" It's Ash Wednesday, the time we're recording this, so that's what this is. But tithe, right, is first fruits. I think that can change your life.
Yeah,
And yeah, just I think, man, just surrounding yourself with the right people, and then speed of implementation is a big aspect. It's like, how quickly can you take something that maybe resonated with you on this podcast and then you go apply it? You learn from it and then you iterate and you keep going. It's a never ending, just seek 1% improvement every single day. If you have that mindset, it's going to be difficult for you not to get ahead.
awesome. Yeah, that's a very good advice and a good gem, man. I appreciate it. If anybody watching, if you guys got any type of value from this at all, the only thing that I ask is please share with a friend. Contact Alex if you're interested in the storage game. And other than that, man, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Travis. Great connecting with you.